Texas struggles to win 16-13 versus Kentucky. Today we'll be giving you guys our grades. Let's start off with the offense. Let's talk first about Mr. Arch Manning. I'm going to give Arch Manning an F. No, I'll give him an F+. He missed a lot of layups. A lot of things was left on the bone. There were some plays he made early in the game that, I didn't feel like he started to play horrifically until like the second half started. Once the second half got going, he started playing really, really bad. He just didn't feel like he ever had it going. So I'm going to give him an F+. I don't put a lot of the blame on Arch, but I think he definitely deserves a good amount of the blame for some of the missed throws, especially some of the big explosive plays that could have happened. So I'll go F+. B-Ross, what about you?
I'm going to give him a D because some of it, after a while, like you get hit enough, you start seeing ghosts. And that's what kind of came up watching him miss throws. It looked like he was prepping to get hit even when the pocket was clean. So, but to your point, he did miss some layups that early in the game he missed, late in the game he missed. And then when he needed to make a layup on a pass that I wasn't expecting in the fourth quarter on the last drive, it was kind of like, oh, he made that layup. So, and like to me, he just never had the chance to really get in the rhythm. In the run game, in the pass game, he never had a chance to get going or find any sort of comfort zone in this game. And the fact that he played through it and, he battled. And so I can't fail him. So D.
Yeah, the D feels, giving Arch a D on this feels like the right decision. I think because so much of his struggle in my mind was schematic, where you look at last week, he only had 2 deep shots. This week, he has 6, right? Like last week, he had 12, I think, passes that were at the line of scrimmage. This week, he had 8, right? So we're looking at not putting your quarterback in a position to be successful, which will come back when we talk about the coaches. So some of it is not on Arch. You can't ignore the missed chances and the missed shots that were there, but ultimately he wasn't put in a position to be successful and be in a place where he's confident enough to hit those layups that he's missed before.
Now, of those 6 deep shots, how many were completions?
3.
All right, well, could be worse. All right, let's move over to running backs. I almost want to put incomplete because they only ran the ball 15 times between Wisner and Clark, but they didn't really get many opportunities to make a whole lot of plays. And it was run here, 5 plays later, run here instead of run play, RPO, run play, something along those lines to get these guys in a rhythm. So I almost want to go incomplete, but when they had opportunities to make runs, I just felt like there wasn't any sort of explosive nature to it. Again, I don't put a lot of this on them. I put a lot of it on Sarkisian. So I'll go C- on them. Just there was nothing there. And I think a lot of it is on the coaching staff for not putting them in the right position to have rhythm or have confidence going up against Kentucky. But they didn't really do anything explosive. And Wisner did have a fumble at the goal line that we got lucky we did get. So I'll go with a C- on them.
Yeah, and that's why I have to give them a D+ because of that fumble. Because that fumble, had we not recovered it, could have changed the outcome of this game.
Yeah.
That was a big play that had it gone the other way, we are in a totally different mood. Granted, we're not in the best of moods just because of how the game looked and how it went, but that fumble could have been catastrophic because we couldn't move the ball after that drive. We couldn't piss a drop. So I'm gonna give them a D+. Also because it felt like when they did get space and opportunity, they were stumbling. They were relatively easy to bring down with arm tackles and just ankle grabbers and things like that. So I didn't think they played terrible, but that fumble just sticks out as just a big what if. So D+.
Yeah, I think a D-, I think, because when, like you said, when they did have opportunities, they didn't really do much with it. But this is quick math, but Quintravian Wisner did not have multiple carries on the same drive until the third quarter, and it only happened twice in the game.
That's terrible.
That's coaching, that's play calling. Literally did not happen on the same drive twice until the second half. So how do you expect a guy to get into rhythm when you're not giving him the ball? That to me is a coaching issue. And again, this will come out toward the end, but it almost feels like an incomplete, or at Texas, I Q dropped a chemistry class. I just straight up quit. I was I'm done. I can't do this. That was what feels like we got to give him here.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this in the post-game show, but and we're recording this right after the game. Do you guys think Wisner was injured? Because that's the only explanation to me that would make me feel, I guess, okay with the decision for this to be the game plan.
So to that point, it looked like it on a couple of runs.
Yeah, he didn't look explosive.
Even when he got out and like had grass, he didn't have any juice behind him. So, which then made me wonder, like, was he banged up and was trying to play through it to help the team out or whatever the case may be. He did have moments of just where I'm looking like he might be injured, like not like hurt. He might be injured and shouldn't be playing, but we don't have any depth. So.
Yep, it doesn't help that Gibson's in the portal now. All right, let's move over to the receiving core. We'll combine tight ends and receivers here. I'll go with the D plus. They didn't really do anything terribly impressive. There was a big play from Emmett Mosley, but I didn't feel like there was a ton of drops. I think there's maybe like one or two that you should have caught. A lot of it was just Arch missing them, right? So in a way, it's kind of like the running backs where it's like, how much do you put on them? How much do you put on somebody else? But at the same time, it's your job to get separation. It's your job to find space to give Arch Manning a look or to a window, and they didn't do that enough in this one. So your leading receiver was DeAndre Moore with 3 catches for 37 yards. So nobody dominated in this game. 12 receptions between all the tight ends and receivers. It's not good enough, so I'm going to give them a D. Let's go with Gerald first on this one.
Yeah, it's again, I look at the box score and I'm like, I want to give him a grade, but Arch missed Ryan Wingo 5 times. Like he targeted him 7 times and missed him 5. Like it's hard for me to grade you when your quarterback's not putting the ball in the right spot for you to catch the ball. Like I think there were spots where I felt like they maybe quit on some routes. I feel like there's some spots where there's miscommunications. So it makes me like a D or a D minus feels accurate. When they did have opportunities to make some plays, more often than not, they made plays. There was one drop that I think I was frustrated with on a third down. But like the game turned on a slant route that a wide receiver double clutch, but ended up catching, right? It's like that. I can't fail him. But I definitely can't give him a passing grade.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gerald. Like I want to give him an incomplete just because like Arch missed them more than they didn't get open to me.
Yeah.
Like it was probably like 2 or 3 third and longs where no one could separate, where it's obvious passing downs and no one got open. But it was a lot of times where he just missed. He missed on drag routes, he missed on over routes, he missed injuries on when he was wide open. So like I can't totally put that on them because when they did do their job and did everything possible, and that's why it's so frustrating being a receiver. And that's why they're divas. Because you got to think, you run all these yards, you do all this work, and then your one opportunity comes and the quarterback misses the throw, and then you see on tape that it was no pressure, it was no nothing, he just missed the throw. I would be pissed too. So I would probably give those guys an incomplete. I'm just curious as to where's Parker Livingstone?
Yeah, it's been quiet.
Where has he gone?
Well, in addition to that, where's
Florida?
In addition to that, where's Jack Andrews been? Do you want to hear his numbers? Week 1, 50 yards. Week 2, 52. The last 4 games, 4, 2, 4, and -1. He's getting replaced by by Washington. That's what it feels like to me. So yeah, it's been Jordan Washington, not Parker Washington. It's been rough in the receiving core lately, and again, not all of it's on them. It's transitioned to offensive line. It felt like this was better than Florida, but it still wasn't particularly great. They gave up 3 sacks on the day to a defense that had a total of, I believe, 7 coming into the game, the worst in the SEC. They also allowed 7 tackles for loss. Again, not all of that's on the offensive line, but some of it definitely is. They were unable to establish any sort of ground game. There was a lot of pressure on Arch. Again, how much is that on him? How much is that on the schematics not putting them up in right situations? It's hard to tell. I'm going to give the unit as a whole a D minus. I felt like there was a bunch of bad plays from Baker. I thought the only positives were I thought Goosby played fine. I thought DJ Campbell made some plays. Everyone else was not particularly great, especially Baker. This was definitely a step back for him. And again, Kentucky's defensive line should not have had 3 sacks. And by the way, a number of those were half sacks that tallied up to 3 sacks. So, yeah, I'll go D minus. B. Russ, what do you think on the offensive line?
F. One
Fair enough.
big flat out F. And I say that because we have 47 yards rushing. And that's with the sacks included. 47 yards. That is abysmal when you talk about winning football. And to your point, Josh, Kentucky's D line, like they're scrappy. They got some big guys. Like they have some talent in spots, but they're not even nowhere near as good as Oklahoma. And we played up for that game and we ran the ball down their throat. And all that showed me today was we played to the level of our competition, especially up front, and we didn't move people. We couldn't get Trey Wiseman going. We couldn't get Christian Clark going. Like we couldn't get Arch going. And to me, like that's one of the things he does well. And every time we had a design run, it was -3 yards.
Nothing. Yeah.
Penetration guys just flying up. Just like so. Those guys, as a whole, they didn't perform well. A couple guys played better than others, but we talk about that team, or when you talk about O-line play, it's all about the unit and just as a whole. And we're still missing protection assignments with these simulated pressures. Like we haven't figured this out since Ohio State. Matt Patricia has given people the answers to what to do on third down. Blitz a linebacker, drop a DN, rush forward. We still can't figure that out. We can't figure out who's coming. So for that, they get an F.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think they get an F. When you look at like the advanced stats, Texas was 1 of 4 on power rushing downs. That's what I said it last week as an offensive line stat. They went 4 for 4. They were 1 of 4 this week. Had 9 runs stuffed. They only averaged 2.4 yards per carry on first downs. That's an offensive line stat to me as well. Like the offensive line failed in this game, period. Like, and there were spots where Arch was getting harassed. We talked about it in the post game where you're in a catch and go, quick situation, and you've got guys at your feet before you get the ball out. That's all offensive line. This unit is not playing to anywhere where we think they needed to be.
Yeah, it's disappointing too because last week they played pretty well, and against a better defensive line too that has NFL talent. This week against guys that are not going to be top end picks, they took a huge step back. So very disappointing here from the offensive line. Transition over to the defense now, primarily with the defensive line. I thought the defensive line had a okay day. I thought they, for the most part, were able to get after the quarterback. They had 5 sacks on the day. Colin Simmons, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, just a monstrous day for him. Trey Moore had a sack. I thought that should have been a safety. They were able to get after the quarterback fairly consistently, and they were typically doing it without sending extra bodies out there. It was usually a 4-man rush. Occasionally they send somebody here and there. So on the defensive line, they did their job. They held them to 3 yards a carry. A lot of the Kentucky movement of the football was not solely on the defensive line. So for them, I'll give them a B-. There's obviously room for improvement. I thought they should have completely shut out this ground game. They did not completely shut it down, but I thought they did a good enough job. And at the end of the day, when it mattered most on that big 4th and goal, that was the defensive line that completely stood them up and stonewalled them 3 straight plays. So I'll give it to the defensive line. I'll go B. I'll go straight B, actually, with the overtime and thought. Gerald, you're first.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record on this, but like when you look at Kentucky's advanced stats, they were 0 for 4 on power rushing downs. They had 9 runs stuffed, right? Like those to me are defensive line stats. So like the defensive line played pretty well. I shouted out Murad Watson in the post game because that's a guy, and the defensive scheme, especially for the interior guys, is not one that you're going to see them flash a lot. So when you do, it's like a big deal. And as because we include the edges in here, Colin Simmons had a great day. Trey Moore, kind of a tweener between linebacker and edge, and he had a great day. So like this is probably the unit that would get my highest grades. I think they're probably somewhere in like the B+ E range, just because I think they are a big reason why Texas was so successful defensively.
I'm with you, Gerald. I'm giving him a B+, and it's more so because I thought for the totality of the game from first quarter to overtime, they were the most consistent unit. No matter who was in, who was at where, they played physical, they played fast, and they made plays when we needed them to make plays. So for that, like, of course we can, Colin Simmons played like the 5-star he is, right? But Trey Moore, Canoe played well. Alex January played well. Like guys were stuffing the run consistently, and we needed them to make a big time stop. Like listen, I think overtime should just be 4th and 1, line up and see who can score for the one. That's just me. That's just I love that element. Like I love that it came down to that, like a goal line stand, because that shows me that we were right in the preseason when we said that this D line is the best unit on this team. Like they stood by that and they played up to that. So I can't fault them for that. So I got to give those guys a B plus. The only reason I don't give them an A is because we did allow, I want to say 100 total yards rushing. And to Josh's point, I think we should have shut them down and we should have been in their backfield a lot more. But when we needed them to be there, they were there. So B plus.
All right. Linebackers. This one is pretty interesting because I thought Anthony Hill had a really, really good game out there. And I thought Anthony Smith probably had one of his weaker games. There was a couple of just noticeable bad plays from him. And I felt like in coverage, they didn't play particularly well. So this one's interesting. I'll put him at like a C, because I think Anthony Hill kind of carries that grade, because I thought the guys opposite of Anthony Hill didn't play particularly well today. And there was a number of times where, again, we talked about in the post show, a lot of drags, a lot of underneath stuff, a lot of crossing routes. Yeah. Sometimes it's on the linebacker who's supposed to be right in the middle of the field, to either disrupt their route to allow a corner to catch up or, to help them on the inside. And there was a couple of times where they weren't able to do so. I remember one specifically, there was a play where Anthony Hill didn't do a great job on it. So I'll go with a simple C for them. I thought there was a number of really good plays, but some of the bad plays hold them back. So it's kind of give and take. So I'll take a C there for them.
Yeah, I'm with you, Josh. I'm going to give him a C, and I wanted to go higher, but then I remembered the missed fumble recovery Anthony Hill had. Because had he just got on that ball, granted the offense couldn't piss a drop, but 3 runs for 8 yards, we are in Mason Shipley's range.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it was the little things. To me, Ty Anthony Smith and Leon LaFau, they both play hesitant and slow. And it showed because Anthony Hill was shooting gaps and gunning. Like it was a noticeable difference. And like sometimes that's by design, and sometimes it's because one guy's seeing it and the other guy not. And knowing that defense, it's because one guy was seeing it and the other wasn't. That's why no matter who was in there with him, they were always a step behind, whether in coverage or versus the run. But overall, like they didn't give up any big explosive plays. There were a couple of times in the run game where we weren't physical at the point of attack and we let yards leak through. So a couple of those first downs turned into 2nd and 4s, 2nd and 3s. But outside of that, like wasn't terrible by any means. Anthony Hill played fast, played
decisive.
Yeah, and that's the thing is where if you play that fast, even if you're wrong, you're right, because the guy who is stacking and cleaning things up, now he can see, okay, he shot my gap. Cool. Let me go to his gap. And that's kind of how they played, but to me, they still played slow. So I give him a solid C.
Yeah, I think a C minus. I think that's the lowest I can give somebody without failing them, right? Like a D is not technically a failure, but like I think they were good. Like they weren't.
Yeah,
there were not a ton of glaring mistakes in a game that I think there were a lot on the opposite side of the ball. Anthony Hill wanting to scoop and score there is, I think, the one that like jumps out at me the most. But he covers up a lot of your inefficiencies as a defense, as a linebacker unit. I wish Leon LaFau could decide who he wanted to be, because last week and in other weeks he's been very decisive. He's been a striker. He's been an initiator. And I had a coach in high school that taught physics too. You have the rare, like actually smart, like, football coaches teaching real stuff. And he would always tell guys, like, the way that physics works, if you're the first one to make contact, it's not going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you less than the other guy. And like that, that's just how objects work. And so like that, like if those guys could do that, I would love to see that happen more.
Yeah. Anthony Hill, he doesn't have the flashy sacks or interceptions that he may have had last year, but he's taken a big step forward. He's been really good these past few weeks after kind of a quiet start to his season. All right, let's move over to the secondary now. We'll talk corners and safeties. This one's a tricky one because I felt like as a unit, each individual player had a decent day. Like I thought Gilbo had a couple nice plays early on. The PI was really bad, but I thought he had a couple nice plays early on. I thought Manny Muhammad was really nice out there, made a couple nice plays. Felt like I never really called his name, which is a good thing. Grayson Littleton, missed a couple tackles, but he's a freshman. What can you expect there? So it's really hard. I'll go with a C plus. There was no explosive plays open down the field. The only mistake they made down the field was that Gilbo pass interference, which frankly, had he turned around, he would have realized that ball was not going to get caught because it was poorly thrown. So you got to give a little bit of some heat for that one. But outside of that, I didn't feel like I called their name a whole bunch or was seeing one guy get picked on like we may have seen in the past. So yeah, it's really hard to grade them. I don't really put a lot of blame on them for some of the underneath completions. So I kind of give them a C plus, but they're a weird one. I can see you going higher. I can see you going lower with this one. Gerald, you first.
Yeah, I'm trying to take off my like Jalen Gilbo pisses me off at this point in the season. So that colors so much of what I feel about this second. I'm just being real, right? And I hope he sees this, and I hope he decides to use it as a chip on his shoulder. But I've been frustrated with that performance. Much like Anthony Hill in the linebacker group, Manny Muhammad covers up a lot of your sins as a secondary. I think he played fast, he played physical, he was aggressive, he was striking. But the rest of the group, there's a breakdown in the aggression that I want to see from that group, especially at a team from Kentucky. I actually thought the safeties played pretty well today, especially in run support. I thought they looked really good. Derek Williams flashed quite a bit, and I like seeing that happen. I think it's probably a C-ish minus. Yeah, they wasn't a complete failure, but they definitely did not play to the standard that I think they could and should.
Yep. I'm gonna give this group a B, and I'm doing that because Manny Muhammad had a sack on a nice pressure call, which it was a big play because it was second and 3 or 4, and the sack pushed them back to 3rd and 8 or 9. They didn't get the first down at that point. And they didn't really give up any explosive. And even the PI, it was a terrible call. It's an uncatchable ball. Now, this isn't the NFL. I don't think so.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, that ball. I'm sitting there that was
not catchable at all.
Right. So his reaction to playing the body and playing the hands were kind of right because the receiver did this, but the ball was nowhere near him. So, but and I'm not a big Gilbo fan, but I didn't think he played bad. I'm not. I thought Jelani might have played his best game. Honestly, it was a clean game. Taft is showing me way more physicality over the last 2 or 3 games than any point earlier this season or last season, just in terms of his tackling and his aggression. To your point, Gerald, in terms of your physics teacher and football coach, when you're the hammer, not the nail, it does not hurt. It just doesn't. And Taft is changing his mentality as we speak in terms of how aggressive he is at the point of attack. Grayson Littleton had a couple missed tackles, but a lot of his stuff is coachable. The talent's there, and again, we're not giving up big plays. Everything they caught, or the majority of what they caught was in the 5-yard no cover zone, and that's what a lot of defenses teach. We play 7 yards off, they catch it at 5. Let's try and tackle them at 6. You know what I mean? So, and for the most part, they did a solid job of getting the ball down in space. A couple times guys leaked through, but nothing catastrophic. I just thought we played just a real overall balanced, complete game. Nothing spectacular, but we just covered all of our ground and protected the integrity of the defense, which gave our D-line chance after chance to get ramped up and make plays because they couldn't get anything behind us.
Yeah, I think to that point, Jared, I don't know if you have the stat on you, but how many passes did Boley throw that was over 20 yards or 15 yards? I feel like it was 3 maybe, and none of them were completions. Maybe 1.
Yeah, he had 1 of 3 for deep attempts. So one over the middle he completed. He was 0 for 2 on the right side.
There was a few times where I saw them go into like this deep cover 2 shell, and I was kind of like, why? Just put another man in the box at that point. Why are we playing deep? He's not going to take a shot, but that's beside the point.
Cover 2 isn't to protect deep.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like why even have Taft go out deep when he could be another person to insert inside the box or to cover an underneath spot?
Because you already got 5 underneath. And
why not have 6? That's where they were killing you at.
Who you gonna have cover deep? One person can't cover everything. I'll tell you much right now.
They ain't taking no shots deep.
Until they see one dude back there, yeah.
All right, man. I'll take your word for it. You played pro.
What, bro? I would be stressed if I was Jelani McDonald and like Tav was like, "Hey, I'm leaving this half." I'm cussing him out. I'm calling timeout. I'm doing everything. What one guy to cover? Because you got to think cover 2.
Well, you got no. You're not saying. I'm not saying do cover 2 with 1 safety deep.
Oh, okay. I'm just okay.
No, I'm not saying because that'd be idiotic. You good luck with that one, buddy. No. But yeah, you get my point. Anyway, let's move over to special teams now. I think this was by far in a way the best unit of the day. If they didn't have those 3 terrible penalties that didn't really hurt you in the grand scheme of things, if you didn't have the 3 penalties, I think I'd give them an A+. I'm still going to give him an A+ though. I mean, your entire offense was Ryan Niblett. Like, they didn't score a touchdown unless it was Ryan Niblett who brought them all the way down the field. And even then, sometimes it was like, if Niblett doesn't return that for 45 yards or something crazy, there was nothing this Longhorn offense could do. Mason Shipley made all of his field goals. The punter, Bomeister, 6 punts inside the 20. I thought he had probably his best day as a Longhorn, maybe his best day as a kicker in general or a punter in general. The only knock I would have would just be those really frustrating penalties that, gosh, it makes me want to bring them down to an A- because it's just annoying, but they didn't really hurt you in the grand scheme of things. And when it comes down to it, this special teams won us this football game. That's just how I thought about it. So I'm going to give them an A+ for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for me to give an A+ to a unit that had 2. I think it was 2 penalties on the same punt. So like that to me is like 8. And if I can grade like Ryan Niblett as an A+ and the rest of the unit as like a solid B, I feel like that feels fair. But since they're all graded together, it feels like an A- performance again. Just like it's those are those are penalties. Especially, I think one of them was coming out of a break. Was it a timeout or a quarter break? Like it's inexcusable to have. It's inexcusable to have a penalty like that. A procedural penalty coming out of a break. So like B+. I talked myself out of the A. B+.
In fairness, though, when they did have the penalties, Bomeister